Zora Child is going to be a futuristic exhibit of exclusively Black artists. And Zora comes from the author and saint Zora Neale Hurston, who is the author of Their Eyes Were Watching God. And I felt that that book and that story were very appropriate for this revolution that we're experiencing as Black people right now. And it just felt like a really romantic way to just express it. The story of Their Eyes Were Watching God is about a Black woman who grows up oppressed, but not completely unaware of her power and her value, but she falls victim to sexist oppression and ignorance oppression throughout her life and doesn't find liberation until she's a bit older. And I feel the story is also very symbolic of Zora Neale Hurston's story as an African-American power literature artist. The inspiration behind Zora Child is Black liberation. As a Black woman, I'm experiencing new and raw and intimate and sometimes scary sensations of embodying the fact that I'm a Black person. And during this global pandemic and after the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I feel I'm collectively experiencing this window of opportunity with other Black people about expressing my identity, being vigilant about my existence, about the validity of my existence, about my right to liberation from fear and liberation from food insecurity and liberation from inaccessibility. Now is kind of a time to be really vocal about that. The best way to invest in that community need and to support artists who are marginalized is to give them access to money so they can have access to supplies, gas if they're commuting to their workspace or their studio space, maybe buy some takeout from a safe, socially distanced restaurant because they want to create and not have to worry about food for just one evening. Providing the dollars, because resources are usually require dollars, that are needed to the best of our abilities. So for this show, that looks like allowing artists to have 100% of all commission and art sales and not requiring a fee to exhibit their work. So with the scholarship is a kind of a beginning with a little seed funding for some self-care. Self-care can be, again, ordering some takeout. It could be paying off the last bit of your electricity utility bill because you couldn't afford the late fee, buying art supplies, or sending money to a favorite like Orisha Instagrammer account, like just whatever makes you feel good, whatever makes you feel comforted. That is something that I really like to encourage people to not spare as much as they can. During a pandemic and a global crisis like this, we need self-care, we need enough water, we need food, we need Epsom salt baths and naps, and we deserve that. And I feel very, very thankful that as someone who's slowly relied on freelance jobs and side jobs since being jobless since March, I have to take the time to take care of my body and do that from a perspective of it not being a chore, but just something that I deserve. We all deserve rest. I think about this book that I'm in love with called Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Maree Brown. And she talks about how pleasure is not a spoil of capitalism. So like pleasure and relaxation are not things that should only be allowed to people who are privileged or can pay for vacation. Everyone should have access to those things because everyone is human. 2020 has been a very, very challenging and sad and scary year for me as a Black person. And one thing that has sustained me through 2020 is really checking in with myself, resonating with myself as a Black person, thinking of how I feel about issues and how I can best verbalize them and honor my experiences as a Black person. And diversity and diversity, for one, provides an opportunity to build a collection of exclusively Black art. Just Black artists who, whether it's you consider yourself a creative, you're an entertainer, you're a performance artist, a sculptor, a painter, whatever it is, this is a moment to highlight the value and the expertise and the beauty of Black people. In particular, I would love to see some dance performance. I think Black dance performance is very powerful and, you know, even like almost like involuntarily ritual and tribal, and I would love to share that level of beauty with our community. So the show will be a pre-recorded event. Norman Arts Council through Second Friday Art Walk will broadcast the video online, but the content that will be broadcasted will be pre-recorded. And that will give artists the opportunity, if needed, to come into the space, hang their work, video a live performance, use the stage, just really give access to artists who might need a space to create. It's also intentional in the way of demonstrating how equity and diversity can really be invested even during restricting times. That means even during crisis, during a pandemic, during phases of sheltering in place and quarantine, there are still opportunities, if you're invested, if you're truly invested, in providing real resources to people from marginalized communities.